So you may be asking yourself, what is self-realization? Is that what enlightenment is? To me, they're basically the same. Enlightenment is more of a wisdom that is mature in that self-realized state. The self-realization can be like a Satori moment where you wake up all of a sudden and you're just like, aha, I get it. I've answered the puzzle to life. And enlightenment is like a really long journey that doesn't really end. It's like an enlightening process. And I would call the road to enlightenment, or there's really not an end, if you can imagine that. The whole being gets lighter and lighter and lighter. So how to arrive at this wonderful state that so many divine yogis, masters, beings throughout history, Jesus, Buddha, there's so many of them who have found it. How to arrive there? Well, I have been blessed to have a glimpse of what this state is like when I was about 25 years old. I had a Satori that stretched into a Samadhi, lasted for many months. And what happened to me was unbelievable. I was not existing anymore as myself. The identity of me was blown away. It was gone in a moment, like a flash. It was obliterated, you could say. And what was left was just silence, pure silence. It's amazing. And in that silence was just pure consciousness. And you could hear everything. You could hear people's minds. You could hear what the birds were feeling and the trees were feeling. And I could even talk to a cow that was a quarter mile away. And I said, come here. And after about 20 minutes, it was standing in front of me. So there's some pretty miraculous things that we can do in this awakened state. And there's some other things I did that I won't share with you here, but they really left me in a state of awe. And it's awesome when you wake up from this dream. And this dream is about, it's a lot of suffering going on. There's a lot of suffering on the planet because people are not turning their attention inside to the source of who they truly are. They're fixated on these ideas of who they are, these concepts, these things that you can write down on paper, and they're not really feeling into the real source itself. It's a very simple presence inside. And so people suffer because they get attached to all sorts of ideas, and then they take action on those ideas, and they have all sorts of, I don't know, just desires and disappointments, and there's so many things that human beings go through in a lifetime. And what I've been through, even after my awakening, I've fallen back asleep because I went into a place where I was wanting to try out drugs and partying and get crazy and wild and pornography and women and sex and all sorts of crazy things that took me out of this center, this stillness. Because I thought, God, I've found something really profound. I'm never going to lose it. Well, I lost it temporarily. But the good news is that once you reach a level on the ladder of spiritual growth, you can fall down many, many times, but as soon as you get your body cleaned out and you're sitting, relaxing, meditating, maybe doing some yoga, stretching, having a healthy lifestyle again, that spiritual rung on that ladder comes back to you. For sure. You can't ever lose that rung. So wherever you've dropped off in this lifetime or the last lifetime, whatever, that's where you pick up. And so the spiritual journey is a long one. And so when you sit to meditate, which is basically how you're going to get enlightened, is you got to sit and turn your attention inside and be still. Be really, really still. And listen to the silence. If you're going to put your mind on something, put it on your breath. Watch your breath, rising and falling. You can put it on the energy at the base of your spine. But don't get attached to anything. Just relax into the silence. Try not to let your mind fixate on anything at all. Let it be unfocused for once. And relax deeply. It all starts with the body. You got to first totally relax your body. If the body's not relaxed, the mind can't let go. And you just surrender to your life, to everything in your past, everything in your future. And you just say, okay, take me. And the mind is going to go crazy. Maybe crazy for, who knows, 3 weeks or more, just sitting. But the good news is that there's a formula for awakening. To reach your first Satori Samadhi experience, well, to enter Samadhi, you got to hit the Satori. The Satori happens when you sit for about 48 minutes, because water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. And enlightenment, the Satori, the mind and the ego settle. They settle down after 48 minutes of stillness, just sitting silently, doing nothing. So this is your critical boiling point before your ego lets go. Otherwise, you're going to be in ego all day. And how do you know if you're operating from ego? Are you suffering on any level at all? If you are, ta-da, you've got an ego running the show. On some level, you're attached to something, some thought, some desire, something. And you think, that's going to make me happy. That's why you're attached to it. But then you forget that the God source is inside. The God source is everywhere, but it's inside you too, because you're the center of an infinite field of energy called the universe. And every point in an infinite field is the center. So everybody's the center of the universe, and so are you. So own your center. Relax into your center. Be your center. Be centered in your center. Be the authority of what comes through your center. Right? Do you want to let some gnarly, nasty little demons come into your house? No. Unless you're going to tame them, show them how to behave, or love them, worship them so much that they kneel and bow down to you. And then they dissolve, basically. All the negative thoughts fall away. So, coming back to this place of meditation, sitting still for 48 minutes every day. And if you skip a day, might be good for you. Take one day off. But just sit. Sit as if you were going to sit for 10,000 hours or years. It's that kind of relaxation, like, okay, I give up on doing with the body, doing with the mind, doing anything. And you just relax. And the thing is like, we're not really taught to relax. So you got to teach yourself. And it's not easy. The mind is just going to fight. So something that I teach that helps is learning how to let go of food, to do a fast, to stop eating. And, drink juice, green juice, something healthy, something that nourishes you, And just, you can drink smoothies or whatever, but just allow yourself to really let go of this yearning and this processing of food in your body. And when the stomach is empty, it's like there's a vacation going on inside of your mind. And when you're on vacation on the inner world, it's amazing. You can, whatever you're doing is a meditation practice. You could be, washing dishes, you could be folding your clothes, you could be working, you could be driving. It's all in a very calm, meditative space. So this is part of the practice as far as reaching the first satori of enlightenment is being in a state of meditation all the time. So you got to be committed. You can't have one foot in and say, okay, I'm going to meditate 48 minutes and then we'll see what happens. No, you got to be like all day long, really returning back to the center every time you get pulled out. And you're going to get pulled out all the time. Because that's the tendency. The tendency is to go out there for happiness instead of staying in here and connected to the source of your infinite self. So there's a lot of benefits with enlightenment, self-realization. The first benefit is that you realize that you're infinite. Who you are is infinite. It's the best word to describe it. It's eternal. It doesn't have a beginning or an end. And it's hard to call it an it because they're just words that don't really resonate. It's an isness, if anything. And this isness is everybody. It's not that the body and the mind come back to this place of I'm separate. There can be that understanding that the mind believes in this illusion of separateness. But the feeling of infinity is so grand that it's like putting on a tiny little pair of shoes you used to wear in high school or grade school. And you're like, I can't fit in these anymore. I realize I'm infinite. Why would I go back to this limited understanding that I'm this human being that's going to die? And so you just tune into that place of this infiniteness that you are when you reach this self-realized state. And the thing is you can work from the end to the beginning or the beginning to the end. You can step into this imagination of yours and say, well, I wonder what infinity is like. What's it like to be infinite? And meditate on the infiniteness. And that will help you to relax. The next cool thing when you step into self-realization is you become extremely powerful as a manifester. You can attract, magnetize anything that you want, any situation, any person, any amount of money, any circumstances, soulmate, whatever you want can be yours. But the thing is that you don't really care so much about these things anymore because they just come and go. And you're more interested in what is permanent, what stays, the power that is radiating from the core of your being. So you tend to just relax into there, and that's what makes your desires manifest, by the way. You may have a certain desire, you may be awakened being, and then you have this desire, and it just manifests because you don't really care about it. You're not attached to it, but you become a magnet for it because the universe wants you to have everything you want. If the universe had desires, the universe doesn't really have preferences. It doesn't have desires, right? It just is. But if it did, it would flow into you everything you want. The problem is that you're saying no. Your mind is focused on some other goal than waking up, than spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment. And the mind is so quick and it's cunning, and you watch your mind and you'll see that it's doing a million things during this whole talk. Maybe not a million, maybe like 10 or 20, but it's still very active and it's not really listening. So if you listen to this talk again, you're going to hear totally different things because your mind was jumping around. And maybe you're a really good listener and you're absorbing all this, but there'll be something that you miss because the mind is amazing at wandering. So there's a sense of absolute power, a sense of being able to manifest anything, a sense of infinity, timelessness. And then there's this amazing understanding that you can know anything. There's like you become Google. on some level, believe it or not, that you are able to ask the universe for any question. And if you have enough patience and enough openness, enough creativity, intelligence, like tuning into the universal intelligence, you're going to hear the answer. So you can know anything. You're all knowing in this state, which is really cool because you stop realizing that, you stop believing in this little brain that that's all the information you got, and you just got to rely on what's in here and, the computer that has been chomping away at bits. And you start to think, oh my gosh, like, wow, I can ask any question about anything, anywhere, and get the answer. It's like you open up, there's something that opens in you. Again, like this breeze coming through this, it just opens, all of these blinders that we normally have, and all this new information comes in, flooding in. And you can ask your inner self, your higher self, any question. And if you really know how to listen, if you can let go of any form of contraction or control or tension in your body, then you can really listen and tune into the silence. And in that silence, you can receive any answer you want, which is pretty cool. Pretty amazing. It's why we're here on the planet. It's why we were brought here, to have this spiritual experience. This amazing download that's constantly downloading all the time. And that's the beauty of our path as human beings. And we get messed up along the way. We fall down. We get all sorts of negative ideas. We feel cracked in our hearts. Our hearts are broken, and we feel broke, poverty, consciousness. I mean, so many things happen to human beings, happen to me along my life. And when I look back, they're all really big blessings, actually. They're all gifts to help me to deepen in a closer communion with the divine. It brings me closer, because you have to. There's no other place you can go. When you're suffering, you have to cling to the divine, which is you. And you are in all things. Of course, there's a third side of the coin. You're in your body. Yeah, that's one side of the coin. You're in the universal body. You're in everybody's body. And then you are in between those two worlds. And that's the edge to ride, is to step on that fine kind of, it's like a tooth floss, where you floss your teeth, those tiny little thread. It's like that thin that you got to walk on that. And if you can balance on this little teeny tiny tightrope, you're going to be able to see how amazing life is. And it's just a balancing act. I'm not my body, my mind, my ego, and yet I totally am. And I'm also this total universal body that has no ego and is infinite. And I'm not that either. I'm both. I'm both and none of them, because I'm the third side. So that's the mystery, to be unsolved, so to speak. And to keep us living our life, so that maybe one day we can see if we can master this tiny little tightrope. And that's the joy, that's the fun, that's the play of life. Life is a play. And if you're too attached to your thoughts, you're not going to have much fun. You got to let go of your thoughts. Your thoughts are just little guests, and you're the host. So, yeah, it's a lot of information to digest. There's more on my website, enlightenedbeings.com. I also have a super manifesting 90-day program. It's got all this information and more practical stuff at supermanifester.com. And I've got free emails. You can get my daily emails on the website. So Be good to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Get to know yourself in those 48 minutes that you're sitting in silence. Ask the eternal question, who am I? What am I? Where am I? When am I? Why am I? Keep asking. How am I? Ask, ask, ask. Question reality. Question everything. But never question your own silence, your own stillness. Because that's the only real gateway to freedom. So thank you again. Tune in next time. Be well.